Hello, welcome everyone. I'll give people a couple of seconds just to set up their sound and cameras. I know on Zoom it takes a little bit of time, but thank you all for joining us in this session. Just a little bit of housekeeping. This session is being recorded. It's just so that we can share it with any of our members who aren't able to attend us today. So please be aware of that. I'm sure none of you would say anything that you wouldn't want to be shared with everybody else. So for this session today, myself, Safi, Greta and Scott from the Apprenticeship College will be just going through a bit more of the finer detail of our new development programmes that we are launching for the start of this April. I know many of you have already been in contact with either myself or Greta to try and find out a little bit more information, and some of you may have already sat in on either a telephone call or a meeting with us. Hopefully we'll be able to answer all of your questions through the presentation. We'll then have a Q&A session for anybody who has anything in particular or wants some finer details. Anything that we haven't got the full answers to for today's session, anything that throws us a bit of a curveball, we will get back to you as soon as possible. But this is a new development scheme. There are always going to be things that we potentially haven't considered, or things that we could be doing extra. So please feel free to ask us absolutely anything that comes to mind. So I'm just going to start sharing a presentation with you, and then I'm going to pass over to Safi, who will be giving you a little bit more information about the flexi-apprenticeship and what that actually means for us.
Okay, so I think everybody's heard now about flexi-apprenticeships, and there's some confusion. We've been getting lots of inquiries about, well, what's the difference? So I thought really the easiest way to start is, what's a normal apprenticeship? So a trainee or an apprentice would be employed by a business. They would work for that business, and alongside that they would have an apprenticeship training provider delivering the off-the-job training, and all of their practical experience would be done in that one workplace. But that really doesn't suit all businesses. So for example, construction and the food industry, because it's we have peak periods and there isn't always an opportunity for somebody to get all of their experience in one business over an 18-month, 2-year period, it makes sense if they can share that responsibility with other businesses. So that's how the flexi apprenticeship started. And the government decided that they would do like a pilot scheme and see how successful this could be. So the bids went out, we applied, and we were successful. We were told in January that we were going to get flexi apprenticeship status, which we were really grateful for, because it gives us an opportunity to really expand. But what did that really mean for us? So when you think of MDS, MDS already is the model of a flexi apprenticeship agency. We employ we trainees, as we all know them as trainees. So we employ the trainees. We have a membership of companies who take them on 6 or 12 months secondments, depending on the role, and they move around different businesses, getting lots of different experiences, whilst they do the off-the-job training delivered by one agency. So in our case, we're using the Apprenticeship College to deliver the grad scheme. What we're going to offer going forward is, because we've now got funding, we can widen that scope. So we're not just going to offer an opportunity for leadership and management in the way that we do the grad scheme. We're going to offer the opportunity to non-grads, and we're going to offer it to other people that have got different experience. So they may not have gone to university but have high potential, or they may be doing a career change, ex-forces for example. But the opportunity is vast now. Up until now we've only really tapped into the grad pool, but we're going to move and see how we can get other people into the industry. Because we're doing that, it really we've got to think about what other schemes do we want to add. So we don't just want to offer leadership and management, we also want to offer the opportunity for operations. We've decided to sort of concentrate on operations and not go too vast. That means that anything in the supply chain, maybe from a level where people come in without experience, maybe people with experience in other areas, lots of transferable skills, but haven't had any exposure to the food industry. So they can come from all walks of life, they can do some really responsible, challenging positions. But what we want to do is bring people in that maybe haven't had opportunity to either go to university or to work in the food industry before. So that's what this flexi apprenticeship is going to offer MDS, and by doing that, give a stream of workers to the industry, to our members. So what we're going to do is offer the operations development program. This is a level 3 program, but we're not really too worried about the levels, because what we want to make really clear is that people are coming in with different experiences, but they've all got the high potential. Some people will want to make a career in operations, logistics, supply chain at a certain level. They may do the operations development program and then take up permanent employment within the membership, or they may decide, and members may decide, that there's further opportunity for them. At that point, members can employ them themselves, and they can continue to do apprenticeships through MDS as an employee, or they continue to do flexi apprenticeship, continue to be employed by MDS and move around the membership while they gain further experience until they find where they want to make their permanent career. But what we are definitely going to be doing is upskilling workers and making sure that we've got a really good, strong supply of people coming into the industry. So when we talk about numbers, just 5 years ago, we were taking in groups of 15, 4 groups of 15 onto the grad programme. We're now taking in 4 groups of 25. And with the flexi apprenticeship, we're going to do that again. So it will be every year, it will be probably 4 groups of 50. So the amount of people that we're going to get into the industry is vastly increased. And that can only be a good thing. What we don't want to do is just stay with the operations and development. This is now a pilot scheme. We've only just started. So this April will be our first intake. And, we've got to be realistic about getting the people in and getting the programme up and running within 12 months, where our hope is to have 100 additional apprentices on the operations and development, or on the flexi apprenticeship. What we want to do going further than that is, in the future, is obviously offer it out to members and say, what else do you want? And on this slide you can see all the standards that are in green. They are standards that we could deliver now, but they're ready and waiting, and we've worked with the Apprenticeship College to make sure that they're ready. The ones in red, they're in development, but they're ones that we can do and plan to do going forward. We also want to have a supply of engineers coming into the business. For that, we don't necessarily need an engineering qualification. We need engineering experience for people that have got engineering degrees, so that they can have experience in your business, and we would give them the leadership and management qualification to work alongside that. And just so you sort of have some understanding of what the levels mean, level 3 is equivalent to an A level, and level 4 is equivalent to HNC, level 5 foundation degree, and level 6 is a degree. Currently, we're working up to level 5 with our grads. And what I really want to make clear is, at this stage, we're not really interested in academic qualification. We're only interested in the skills that we're giving apprentices so that they can apply them in practice and make an impact in the business. They've already finished education, so we're not looking to increase that. They're definitely getting qualifications at the end, but that isn't our focus. Our focus is about making sure that they're effective in the workplace, that they've got progression planning for their own careers, and that they're going to make an impact in the business.
So that's just a little bit about how we are developing the programmes and what we hope to achieve in the future with additional flexi apprenticeship schemes. I was going to talk to you a little bit about how we are focusing on our current recruitment needs. So the graduate scheme, the leadership and management programme, and the operations and development programme. So obviously we've got a wider source of engagement avenues now. With the new schemes, we are able to reach a much more diverse range of individuals. And that comes with its own challenges as well, because we are very good at recruiting graduates. We've been doing it for the last 35 years, and we have a very targeted pool. I would almost say it's a bit like shooting fish in a barrel, because they're always there in one place. You go to the university careers fairs, you have very specific engagement routes. With the new schemes, we're obviously trying to diversify and reach a much wider range of individuals, but also maintaining that standard that MDS has become known for. So one of the main areas that we will be looking into will be forces leavers. So these may be individuals who are at various stages of a military experience. They may have joined straight after school, done 3 or 4 years now, are looking to leave. They may have done 15, 20 years within the forces, are coming to the end of their time there and are looking to retrain. They will be coming in with a wide variety of experiences and sort of long-term career goals. But for those individuals, it's about redeveloping their skill sets and giving that insight into the industry. So we will be utilising CTP, Forces Farming, which is an organisation which has been running for a little while and does some agricultural training. And also we're looking into an organisation called High Ground, who work with forces individuals who are looking for agricultural type experience or food-based roles. We'll also be hosting a variety of virtual events for the sort of non-forces individuals. So these are looking at explaining opportunities within the industry to people who are maybe looking for a career change. Obviously, over the last 2 years, there's been a mass number of people leaving careers within retail, within food service. They have maybe decided, actually, I don't want to be going back into that career, particularly within the health services as well. So we're looking at avenues where we can reach these individuals, and particularly maybe people who unfortunately lost their employment during that time, and now they're looking for a steady career path. And one of the things we always say about the food industry is that it's one of the most resilient industries available, because we always have to eat, even if we're not necessarily eating in restaurants and pubs, as has been over the last couple of years. So we're going to do our usual type of engagement, because we always feel that the personal touch is the most effective. So rather than relying on sort of mass marketing techniques such as email marketing, we're going to be going out there, we're going to be engaging with individuals. There are opportunities for members to get involved in this type of engagement, particularly if within a local area, if we're doing a particular event, maybe a careers event, and you feel, actually, I've really got something to impart within this, you can come and join us at those events. We have been considering maybe doing things like site visits, so people can understand the environments or the types of products and things that they might be working with, getting people excited about the industry, and also helping them understand about some of their sort of misconceptions about what working within the industry may be looking like. We will obviously continue with our university engagement, but not just for the graduates. There are quite a large stream of individuals who maybe thought long-term education was the way forward for them. They've done a year or a few of their semesters, and then have actually said, working, I want to go into full-time employment now. The cost of education is too much, or maybe I'm not getting what I want out of my qualification. We've seen quite a large increase in that, particularly around individuals who thought they were going to be doing in-person learning and then now turned to virtual learning. There's not necessarily that university experience anymore, but these would have been extremely capable individuals who possibly would have gone on to do our graduate scheme. So we're looking at engaging with those types of individuals as well. And obviously, I've mentioned the careers events. We have so far done 5 events over since we got the announcement that we were going to be doing the flexi-apprenticeships. And actually, it's been a fantastic way of engaging with individuals. You do see quite a wide range of skill sets. And one of the things I thought was quite interesting was actually seeing the number of people who were looking for those career changes. They've really decided, actually, I now need to reflect on what I want to do long term. And they're particularly interested in the fact that we're a development programme because they're not able to get that in their current career path. So Safi's always given a really good explanation of the schemes and how they're going to be divided, but this just explains a little more visually how the entry routes are going to work. So we've got the graduate scheme, that's going to stay the same. We will be recruiting still from any discipline background, and they'll be doing the leadership and management qualifications, so the current level 5. The leadership and management programme, we are going to be looking at people who have got a little bit more working experience under their belt. They've done maybe a supervisory, they've shown some sort of leadership experience within a previous role, but that can be from quite a wide range of different experiences. And then the operations and development programme, because the variety of roles in there will be a little bit more varied. They don't necessarily have to have the supervisory or leadership skills, but we are still going to be looking for their potential. So rather than just focusing on people's CVs and the previous work that they've done, we will also consider things like, are they part of any social groups? Have they done voluntary work, which demonstrates their team working abilities, their ability to work within a variety of different environments. And there's always been the thing with MDS, is we look for people for their potential, and I think we're very good at identifying that potential rather than relying on sort of traditional recruitment methods. And then at the end of the scheme, obviously once they've completed their leadership and management programme, it's going on to the normal routes of finding full-time employment. Over the last 35 years, everyone who's completed MDS has gone on to full-time roles. In the last group of leavers, 85% of those went to members. Unfortunately, 2 of them went back to their own family farms, and I will sort of rue them a little bit for ruining my statistics. I thought we were going to get 100% that month, but we are looking to continue those types of statistics, and we expect the operations and development individuals to be wanting to go into full-time roles, and particularly within members. So Greta now is just going to explain a little bit about the secondment process. I think that's quite an important aspect for all of you here today.
Thank you, Kirsty. So we've talked at length about how we're going to recruit our new trainees. One of the main opportunities that members have to actually talk to our trainees will be at Meet the Trainees. Now, that was actually going to be scheduled to be virtual. It's now actually going to be a face-to-face event, and we're moving that to the 27th of June, and it will be held at the East Midlands Conference Centre. This will be every member's opportunity to actually promote their businesses to all the trainees that we have on programme at that time, both through the normal graduate scheme and also our new scheme. So I would take the opportunity of recommending all members should attend our event on this day. As per normal, we will do a call for secondments, and the deadline for those will be the 8th of July. Now, that's not to say at the moment we're talking about, we're in the pilot scheme, and some of you may have roles right now that need fulfilling, and we will do our best to actually identify suitable trainees for these roles and put them in situ before June. But ultimately, we'll be launching in June. We'll be asking for secondments for both the leadership and management. That will be both graduates and non-graduates. As I think Safi may have mentioned, we will have trainees that we feel are suitable for leadership and management, and they will go in with the grad scheme. And then we'll also ask for secondments for operations and development, and I'll talk about secondments that would come under that title in a moment. We will start the assigning process around the 11th of July. So I'm going to ask everyone, it's really, really important that we have as many secondments as we can in by deadline, to give everyone, especially ourselves, the opportunity of matching the right trainee to the right member.
And the same process will apply to all trainees, irrespective of what scheme we're working on. At this point, I really want to stress it's about potential and not level. And what I mean by that is our secondments will be allocated based on the tasks and the individuals. So a leadership and management, i.e. our grad scheme at the moment, they are held over a 2-year period. So that's 4 6-month secondments or 1 12-month and 2 6-month secondments. And with that, we stress that part of that scheme is that they will be expected to move for every secondment. Operations and development will be over an 18-month period. Here we're asking for 1 12-month and 1 6-month in any order. And the programme will encourage moving at least twice. However, as we've said, we're looking at a different demographic for this scheme. So we have some issues that we think may come up, and I'll address those in a moment. The types of roles that we're looking for: operational roles, supply chain roles, production roles, and logistic roles. The leadership and management trainees can actually be assigned an operational role, but what we won't do is potentially put someone that's on the operational and development programme into a leadership and management role. One of the concerns that may be raised is due to the demographic of the applicant, i.e. some of these may have, some of our trainees may have existing careers, they may be married, they may have obligations, and moving may actually moving may be a challenge for them. So one of the considerations we had is that we'd actually form geographic hubs amongst our members. So what we would do is we'd work within a network of members with operational and development trainees, whereby they may do 1 6-month at one member and their next secondment at another, where they can commute, where moving away isn't an issue. What we will do is we'll identify at the beginning, when we're taking them on, whether moving is something that they can do or not. So when we're looking at placing a trainee, we'll be aware if it's a trainee that we can move throughout the country, or whether it's one that we have to work within a geographical hub. I need to stress here that trainees must move companies here to fulfill the needs of the flexi apprenticeship. We can't move them into departments over an 18-month period. As with all our secondments, the same principles will apply. They will be expected to have 1 review at 4 weeks, 1 review at the end of the secondment, and then there'll be a secondment observation within the 6 months. Okay, so that's where one of the people development team, the secondment manager and the trainee will sit down together to talk about their development. We will also ask all trainees, as we do with our current scheme, to actually feed back on the secondment. How have they found it? What support did they get? Did they achieve their development? Were they given opportunities to actually grow within the role? And again, we will ask all secondment managers to attend secondment managers training, especially if they're new to the MDS. I've put a chart up here, which I'm more than happy to send out to anyone. We'll just show the flow. So we'll do the call for secondments. We'll identify whether that trainee can move or whether they have to operate within a geographical hub. We'll introduce the trainee to the member company. We'll organise a meeting. We'll ensure then we get a confirmation for both member, and we'll also discuss it with the trainee, and we'll agree a start date. As I said, the trainee will complete their reviews, including a secondment observation, and then we will also ask them for feedback. At the changeover time, i.e. when the trainee needs to move to their next secondment, we will work with the members' hubs to actually talk about the next opportunity. And then again, the same system will apply until they finish. Thank you.
And Scott's just going to talk a little bit now about the apprenticeship learnings that the individuals will go through. And this will obviously be particularly important if you're considering putting your own staff on any of the apprenticeship programs. Izzy has shared in the chat function, or will share shortly, 2 documents. Unfortunately, we couldn't fit the tables onto a presentation slide that allow you to actually read it. It's always a bit smaller when you try and squidge it onto a screen. If you don't receive the documents in the chat function, please don't worry, we will email them out to everybody later today. Scott, over to you.
Thanks, Kirsty. First of all, if I talk about the level 5 in terms of the operational departmental management, the key here is somebody who is aspiring or managing teams, projects, or delivering operational plans. Now, I say the word aspiring, you know, you don't necessarily have to be in one of those roles, as we've, you know, fulfilled with graduates already. What the key is that they afforded the opportunity to be able to demonstrate some of these skills I'm going to be talking about. And that's really, really the key to anything on apprenticeship, is learners being afforded the opportunity to be able to demonstrate these skills once we've developed the knowledge. Now, the USP really at the apprenticeship college is the workshops that we run. We use, you know, industry experts to deliver workshops. So they'll, in essence, deliver all the knowledge and teach them and relate them to roles relating to the sector, relating and share experiences that they've had in the sector when you know, when they've been working in it, and bring these to life. They're also supported. The trainers we use are also supported in some of the workshops with actors. And the actors carry out a role play. So they bring some of the scenarios into real life, like managing difficult conversations, and, you know, negotiation influence and things like that. Those sort of things are really key for learners without experience, especially to sort of learn about how to deal with these things and apply these skills within the workplace. So what we look to do within our programs and the way we develop our programs is we look to build on the training that's delivered in the workshops, and then the skills coaches then look to work with the learners to apply those skills within the role. So going back, I think, to what Safi was saying, what's really important to us is that, you know, all the learning that they go into the workshops, they're actually applying within the roles, which, you know, makes them better employees and you know, really creates that potential for future roles, and to be an asset to the, you know, the businesses they're in. So if we look at the operations and departmental manager at level 5 on there, it will start off with the usual, doing the masterclass and the induction, and that's really gauging a starting point to where that apprentice is, what skills they've got already, and really identifying where they need to develop, and them creating their own sort of self-awareness and self-development plan. They move on to look at the developing the role as a manager, where they set their own personal objectives. More important, looking at leadership styles and their personal effective in the workplace, including things like time management. They look at project management and control, which is a really key part of the level 5 operations manager standard, where it just looks at, you know, the overall project cycle and how apprentices manage projects, looking at how to manage resources, planning projects, allocating tasks, looking at things like, you know, continuous improvement, and problem solving skills within that, change management. The next one really is where it starts to really look at the sort of leadership aspect and managing people, and that's managing individuals and team performance. So it looks at organizational objectives and how they align to what the learner's doing, creating positive work environments, developing working relationships, looking at key policies and procedures and utilizing them around the way we manage a team. And really managing remote workers, which has become more to the forefront in the last couple of years since the pandemic, and multiple teams. They then go on to look at management communication, so effective communication within teams and colleagues, and how to adapt those communication styles to different situations, sharing meetings and how they sort of can deploy and manage meetings successfully. And then inclusion and diversity, which they look all about the Equality Act and how they manage, you know, cultures within a business and people within that culture. Then they have two workshops which are around presentation skills. One is to develop the confidence to produce sort of slideshows and using the IT side of it, the PowerPoints, Prezi, things like that, looking around the theory and knowledge around that. And then the second one is for them to devise then a presentation and practice it and present it and get some feedback on that. So it's really getting that element and sort of testing them and assessing them in that second workshop. Following that, it's information-based decision-making. So this is where the real problem solving and looking at problem solving techniques come into play around people, around technical and the approaches to that. And really looking at things like how to draw conclusions and analyze data. So, a vast amount of skills through that. We then go on to motivational leadership. And this is developing the awareness of their own leadership styles, but how that impacts on the way they lead and manage others, looking at things like emotional intelligence and how to develop their own leadership styles within the context of their organizations. Then on to operational management, which focuses on sort of the management systems, planning, information management, data to improve the commercial awareness and continuous improvement. And again, then we go back to sort of managing and developing talent, where they'll explore about recruiting people, managing talent and performance, how to develop, build, motivate teams, and how that's, how to do that in a fair and inclusive way. They'll follow on to do change management, which is about initiating and managing change, identifying barriers and how to sort of mitigate these. Next will be business improvement, where they'll look at introducing key tools, processes to support that business improvement, things, principles of Six Sigma, and looking at any tools to really analyze and value waste. And then, financial management, where they go into forecasting, handling difficult conversations, exploring and challenging conversations, using the communication skills and feedback techniques. And then the final part of that is they also do a certificate in leadership management, which they do 2 assignments, which is a separate certificate to their apprenticeship standard. So that's a level 5. And into the supply chain operations development, fairly new standard to the industry, really suited towards sort of existing workers like team leaders, transport planners, transport managers, stock controllers, fleet controllers, administrators, account managers. But also, again, if they've not had experience within that industry, really being able to afford the opportunity to demonstrate some of these skills. So again, we'll look at the starting point, we'll look at the introduction of the supply chain, sort of the end-to-end characteristics, the farm to fork and everything around that. Look at things like KPIs, partnerships, customer relations, about developing and building relations and delivering excellent customer service within the industry. Communication skills and collaborative working, where they'll learn to professionally communicate with stakeholders at all levels. Cost management, things about meeting demand and forecasting, justifying cost, capacity management. Procurement, risk management and business improvement, which look at the principles and strategic, operational, legal considerations. Supply plan and logistics, where they look at developing the supply plan. And then we look at project planning, which is a key part, again, of most apprenticeships at the moment. So we look at the project life cycle and the learners delivering a project, which adds to the business need. So something that's going to make a difference to improve a process. Continuous improvement and problem solving, very similar to the level 5. Then we look at supply chain technology and data. So we look at the systems in place in that organization and how to analyze data and how to use those systems to inform us of, process to make sure we meet audit requirements. And then we look at some of the elements from the level 5 standard that we did in terms of managing difficult conversations and negotiation influence, and how they can develop skills in around those areas. So there's quite a lot. I mean, obviously the workshops you can cover quite a lot of the context in them. They're very, very deep. But the key thing is all the learning experiences here is the skills coach and the apprenticeship college working with those to learn and develop those and apply those within roles, which is really important. Thanks, Kirsty.
Thanks very much, Scott. So that's quite a lot of info. It's really important as people understand the benefit of our trainees completing those apprenticeships, and in particular the skill sets that they might be able to bring back to your individual businesses. Just a couple of extra things before we move into the sort of Q&A session. Greta mentioned earlier and explained how we would like the secondments to come in and when we want them to come in for the next round of intake. But we just also wanted to make clear that we are recruiting for both the operations and development roles and the leadership and management roles between now and June. And because of the early start with launching this programme, the fact that we've had to start quite quickly, we will be extending the secondment start dates for this one set of intake. So we could have potentially people starting into June. And if you did want to take a trainee on, then we could arrange for you to have an extended round, so you could effectively have them as an early October start, but they would be classed as being from this intake. So please do let Greta know if you've got any queries or you're not quite sure if the role you're considering fits within the programs that we are launching. Have a chat with one of the team and we'll be able to go through everything with you. And it's also important with this, as is typical with MDS, we don't just have the off-the-shelf level 5s that maybe you would be able to get with an alternative apprenticeship provider. We still have those added value modules to make sure that you are sort of clear about that. And then if you wanted to get any of your own staff included on the supply chain leader qualifications of the level 3 or the operational department manager, which is the level 5. I know it's confusing because they've got quite similar names but the wrong way around. Again, you can follow the usual routes about putting your own staff on those programs. So hopefully that's given you a little bit of an insight into what our plans are, how we're going to try and get the right people, and how the secondment process is going to work, and actually the apprenticeship itself. We do have an opportunity now, if anybody has any specific questions that they would like to ask, you can either use the chat function to raise a hand or type a question in, or even just turn your microphone on. Fortunately, I can't see anybody's faces. I don't know if anybody's waving at me.
Hi, this is Shelley Webb from Del Monte. I have a question about putting our own staff through the operational apprenticeship. Where would the work take place? Because I know at the management leadership at the moment, a lot of it is up at Newark, and that's quite a difficult area to get to. So I understand from some of our people that have already been on that course. Mm-hmm. Is it the same kind of thing? How would it run?
So it depends very much on how many people are on the programme. So if there are more than 10 or 10 and above, then we can organise for the training to be done nearer your own site or on site. If there were a few members, own staff in the same area, then we would organise for it to be delivered in that area. Now a lot of the training's done virtually, so a lot of it doesn't require the apprentice to move around as much. I think probably only once or twice in each 6 months would they actually physically need to go to a site. So if they did it with MDS trainees or with the members group currently, it would be in Nottingham. But if we've got a large number in a geographical area, then we will organise for it to be done nearer to you, so that you don't have the expenses.
Okay, so at the moment most of it is going to be done virtually, though, is it? So the trips,
yeah, the majority of
it a couple of times.
Exactly. The virtual training worked so well over lockdown that it just seemed absolutely ridiculous to go back on all of it. To have it completely virtual loses the opportunity for networking and for people to bond as a group and all of that support they give each other. So we've balanced it out. So now, absolutely, there's no reason for every training course to be face to face. We know that for definite. The value is the same virtually. So the requirement to move your own staff around is hugely reduced. There's more virtual than face to face.
Okay, that's great, lovely, thank you. And just one more question, I may have missed it because I did have to pop away in the middle of the presentation, but what's the time frame for the operational course? Is it completed in a year or longer than that?
18 months.
18 months.
Yes.
Okay, that's great.
18
Thank you
months.
very much. Thank
No
you.
problem.
Any other questions at all? No? Yeah, well, if you do sort of go away or you want to share this presentation with any members of your team who you think would be pertinent to share it with, and they have any questions, we can organise a sort of a conversation session. So takeaways from today are, we are looking for those operations and development suitable secondments. We will be allocating people into roles between now and June for those for both the leadership and management program for non-grads and for the operations and development program. And then for our October intake, we will have a meet the trainees session on the 27th of June. And then there'll be the deadlines for secondment requests. And I would say it's more important than ever to get those secondment requests in as soon as you can, really, because it gives us the best opportunity to find the right individual for you. We are dealing with a larger number of trainees. So by this time next year, we should have over 220 trainees on the programme, which I think back to my MDS days, and I think there were 20 of us. It's a fantastic opportunity. We are increasing our staff numbers, so we are going to be managing that with the same effectiveness that we've always had. But it also means that we want to work in much more cooperation with our members as well, to ensure that everybody gets what they want out of the programme. Thank you very much.